All right, how about we start over? We'll call this meeting to order of the Morgan City Redevelopment Agency. Today is November 14th, 2023. We have in attendance Jeffrey Richens, Jeff Wardell, Dave Alexander, Eric Turner, and Ty Bailey, city manager, and Denise Woods, our agency secretary. Thank you. So, welcome. Thank you for being here. First item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting's agenda tonight.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Motion by Jeffrey to approve the meeting's agenda. Do I have a second? Second by Eric. Is there any comments or discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That was unanimous. Moving on to the consent agenda. Someone had an opportunity to look at the minutes of the Morgan City Redevelopment Agency meeting back on August 22nd. And if so, is anyone prepared to make a motion?
I've reviewed the minutes and would move to accept the minutes, Morgan City Redevelopment Agency meeting minutes of August 22nd, 2023.
Motion by Dave. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Second on by Jeffrey. Is there any discussion on the minutes? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
That too was unanimous. Moving on to the active agenda, we'll be discussing an application to the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity for the Rural Communities Opportunity Grant, Resolution 23-33, and we will turn the time over to Ty to discuss that, if he would, please.
Sure. So we discussed in a previous council meeting just the concept of getting property behind Commercial Street for secondary access and public parking. And this is just a grant opportunity to actually build that alley. I think it's Wooster. I can't remember what kind of concept it was. The planner tests me on that every time, but anyway, it's a one-way alley. The concept is in the packet. Hasn't been engineered and all that. It's just a concept plan, but enough to apply for the grant. The grant is a $600,000 grant with a match requirement of 30%. So we would exceed the 30%. It's in the RDA, and we would be using RDA money as the potential match. We have an engineer estimate that, could vary, but it's in the almost $900,000. Yeah, $875,000 range. And so it just shows support. If you all agree, then I can attach the resolution to the grant application. Just strengthens the application, so it shows that we're all on board. We're aware of the match requirement, and that's pretty much the gist. If we pass it, I also will get a letter of recommendation from the Planning Commission chair, and like the other one, the Planning Commission would act as the advisory board on the grant. The other grant was through the city, and we had 5 different areas, and this is just be a straightforward. It's more of an expensive project, just a one shot. This concept, I think we would just hold off until we do receive a grant. I don't think we do that big of a project on our own. So that's
what's the match, Ty?
30% match requirement.
At the 275.
Yeah.
276. Got a few questions. Is the grant specific to this project?
This would be our application. So
if this is the application, then you couldn't change the project once you get the grant.
Right.
Okay. Question number 2, we had talked before about property boundary alignments. How would that fit with this? Would that resolve?
So it doesn't have to be tied the grant would just say, we're on board with this concept, and then depending on where we end up with or without property, it could end up being a one-sided, only parking on one side. It could be a half street. It would just go as far as we
But
could make it, but
the individual buildings had,
yeah, so that would be,
the boundaries had conflicts.
yeah, that would be in preparation for this.
But this would help realign that, or it would help resolve that?
Yeah, well, if we have a grant and we have this project, this helps me take it back to the property owners for.
Sure. So, but would that be a condition that we'd move forward, is that those boundaries would be resolved?
Yeah.
Those disputes?
Yep.
Yeah, good. So you wouldn't build all of this and then still have the
No,
disputes?
this would solve it all, yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And we would acquire the property to make it work. And if we didn't, then we would just turn back the grant money.
Mhm. And then thirdly, of course, it provides access and parking to the back, but I can't think of too many buildings along there that access their business from the back. Would that have to change?
Not necessarily, because there would be a walkway to park in the back and then walk to the front, right mid-block. So right by the coffee shop, there's
An alley.
an alley that we would acquire that as a right of way, and but there's a couple of well, I guess the physical therapy doesn't really need it, but the Vallis would benefit as an event space in the future when it's done. And then
The Smoke and Box has
Yeah,
a rear entrance.
they have a rear entrance, the barbecue joint.
Could you, I mean, with
Encourage
the,
it.
with the project, would it maybe be an encouragement to businesses to create an access? I guess my question, I'd hate to spend that kind of money, $1 million, and people not willing to walk to the front from the back.
Sure.
In other words, it wouldn't be utilized.
Yeah. The big thing is that if the event space in the Vallis takes off, that would overwhelm the parking, and currently they probably wouldn't get approved without additional parking. And so most of the time you could probably get by without it unless it was more convenient to park
Yeah,
in
I
the
think,
back.
yeah, bingo,
Yeah,
that's the word right there, is convenience.
Yeah, well, and the other thing it does
We'll
is,
look for convenience first.
yeah, and the other thing it does is it kind of adds value to those back parcels to get developed, because the access would already be
The back
the
parcels meaning west of the.
south.
or
South of the road,
south.
other side of the road from. They're vacant, the vacant parcels.
Those that got the lines through them?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So that could turn into businesses also?
Mhm.
Is that owned by multiple individuals?
One,
Just one, so he could build whatever building he would want. I mean, that'd be ideal, wouldn't it,
Yeah.
for that?
and that's kind of the negotiation point with the other property that we're looking at. Is he owns all of it, and so if there's a advantage to him, then he'd be more willing to.
I mean,
negotiate
of
some
course,
of
we'd have to go through a lot of work in getting the property owners lined up to
Mhm.
correct the boundary disputes, but I think as part of that conversation, there could be an encouragement to
Yeah.
create the back entrances.
Yeah.
Now that they've got that they have access.
And there's a couple where it just wouldn't work.
Mhm.
Larry's Spring Chicken Inn and the craft store. Maybe the craft store would be okay because they have two sides. But like Larry's goes right into a kitchen, so
Mhm.
you wouldn't do that.
It's already been,
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the bank building has rear access. They just maybe use it for employees. Right now, that's another complicating factor is employees are all parking on the front,
sure.
and
Yeah.
so even.
And I know
that
you-
frees up some parking.
Yeah. Talked before of maybe even limiting parking time per stall or in certain stalls just for convenience to
Yeah.
pick up food and so forth.
Yeah, we sent a letter to the business owners, just encouraging them to have employees park across the street,
Mhm.
just to open up more access. And I haven't noticed a difference, but we did encourage them to do that. So,
How likely is it that we would get the grant? Is that,
so this is stretching the grant parameters, just to be honest. I don't know what that means in likelihood. It just depends on what the other applications are. And
Mhm.
the other thing is we've already received one as a city. And so that's why I applied as an RDA, just to, make it a separate entity, but they might look at us and say, well, we've already given you 400.
You don't have any idea what the subscription would be until probably the deadline?
Right. So the deadline to apply is this Friday.
Okay.
And then, and would find out probably beginning of the year. And then.
Yeah, I mean, if it was oversubscribed 20-1, it may not, or 30 or 40-1, it may not be.
So they have a committee that just ranks them, ranks
Mhm.
and rates them.
Okay.
And, yeah, I don't know. It's weird because when you read the grant language, it's economic development, right? And it's just how well you present your case on
Mhm.
what's this going to do for our economy. And our other one, we were one of the top applications. I did get that feedback.
You mean our other grant? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Sure.
And I've gone through the how to apply and the requirements. That's why this strengthens it. Having an engineer's estimate strengthens
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
concept.
Yeah.
Plan gives them that, they can really see this is what we're trying to do. And so I think our ability to spend the money also helps, where it's not oh man, it's a four-year deal. So there's some things in our favor. It's just a matter if they feel like this is really what the grant is intended for.
Our other project was the depot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And the signage and the
Right.
stage, the event space grant. So
Gotcha. Yeah, and that was fairly recent. It
yeah, it was last year.
put us down a bit.
We'll see.
Yeah. Thank you, Ty. That's all I had.
But the purchase of the property is dependent on the grant.
So yeah,
Cities, but
No,
the city gonna buy the property.
we
without the grant?
would have to have the property, but the grant is I already have like a verbal, you know what I mean, on the
Buy the
property.
property,
Yeah.
but that's in.
Can't really
addition
talk
to the
about
match for the grant. The
Yeah,
property
it's outside of
purchase.
the grant. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you buy the property without the grant?
Yeah.
Anyway, we still move forward with that just
Okay.
for the boundary
Yeah.
alignments.
But it does help to say this is, we have funding right now. This is the concept we're working off of. Here's the benefit to everybody. Here's how many parking spot, so the project can still move forward. It's just that we wouldn't do this actual portion without a grant.
Right.
So we're still gonna be working on the rest of it, but I'm just saying this just helps those negotiations when we have a
Gotcha.
concept with some money behind it. The other thing I think the resolution does is just authorize me to be the applicant.
Sign the application.
Yeah, sometimes they're looking for a mayor's signature or something along those lines. So it just clarifies that. I think we did the same process last time.
I guess one last question, Ty, the RDA, would the match money come from RDA
Yeah.
funds? Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't come from general fund, it would be RDA. And we just upped the amount. Was that just last year? If you remember, I went back to
Mhm.
each entity and renegotiated
Right.
and so we will be getting more money than we did, and then we're pretty well done with that current grant. I haven't had any other applicants for the 40,000.
Yeah.
And it's up to us if we tie up our RDA money and just say we don't have any funding for that 40,000, that's fine. The rehab building, but this would be a great next step, I think, where we've accomplished a lot in the commercial street. This just kind of paves the way for the next wave of growth.
Breathe a lot of life into commercial street.
Yeah, without overwhelming it. It's a kind of a tricky balance.
Here's the,
It would clean it up back there a little bit too. I didn't make it look.
Yeah.
that was my thought. First of all, clean it up. Second of all, as I've traveled around, I mean, there's a lot of main streets where parking is in the back. You park in the back, you walk around and access the front. So I don't have a particular problem with that. I've seen it numerous times. I mean, I could start naming out where I've been. You park in the rear and walk around the front to access.
Park where you
this.
can park, don't you?
Yeah, because obviously there's not a lot of parking on their main street, so. I do like the concept. Again, this is a concept drawing. So and the thing of it is, my mentality's always been, hey, at least try for it. What's the worst can happen?
Swing,
We
absolutely.
could get it.
You know, we could get it, then we got a plan, but at least now we got a plan to move forward with something. Because if not, if we don't do something with it, then we're gonna sit there probably with dirt on our hands still. But if we could beautify it, make it into something that's usable, I think let's go for it. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the worst could happen? They tell us no.
Well, and we can still get the project and apply again
Yeah,
next year.
Exactly. And we still got the concept, we still got the plan. If we get told no, then we just move on to somewhere else.
Yeah.
So,
Another big benefit I forgot to mention is if you look at that alley coming through the Vallis,
yeah,
that's more parking than they would normally get without having to turn around.
Is that those 5 stalls right
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, but right now they have to accommodate parking with a way to go turn around. So it's very limited.
yeah, that does make sense too.
Mhm.
I mean, it just kind of helps open that up. I think it,
You know, when I saw the concept, it reminded me of 25th Street and the
Uh-huh.
old buildings, and limited parking on the front and yet
Big parking lot.
Yeah.
on the back.
plenty of parking in the back.
Yeah.
On the north side.
I mean, I think of Afton, Wyoming, Moab's a lot that way. And then the list can go on and on and on of, so I think it's a great concept, so. We gotta vote on, I guess it is a resolution, huh?
Oh.
Any more discussion? If not, is someone prepared to make a motion?
Do we call you mayor now?
No.
Chief, chair.
Boss man.
No.
Tony,
Yes.
I'd move that we adopt resolution 23-33. A resolution adopting and approving an application to the Utah Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, which is Go Utah, for the Rural Communities Opportunity Grant.
A motion by Dave
I'll
to
second that, Tony.
approve resolution R 23-33. Motion by Dave, second by Jeffrey Richens. Is there any other discussion on this motion? Let's do a roll call vote then. Jeffrey,
Aye.
Jeff, Eric,
Aye.
that is unanimous. Dave, oh, sorry, Dave,
Aye.
you're gonna do it too. Still unanimous. Sorry, you're sitting too close to me.
Get your pencil sharpened, get your writing, your thesaurus out, make it sound good.
Yeah, we're
Well,
due on Friday, so.
Okay.
thank you all. Anything else we need to discuss as far as RDA is concerned? Nothing else on the agenda. So if not, we'll adjourn the RDA meeting and take a 10-minute recess.
There we go.
Thank you all.
Okay, good job.